Hey y'all, this is Xenoxis and this is just gonna be a bit of an update. I'm just gonna turn on the microphone so I can hear myself, just to see the audio test, because if I have gain on highest then you can hear the computer more, because for some reason the computer is not that loud, but something does so that you can hear it in the microphone. And the microphone amplifies the noise from the PC because the PC is very, very quiet. But it, I don't know. I probably need a filter for the microphone. Is what I'm guessing that I'm needing. So, but I'm just checking so that they wouldn't work. I've also changed so that it won't go into screensaver mode and stuff like that, because I got a special recording mode for I'm recording it pretty late now at 21:0200. So. I need to show you some things, because of course you might have seen on Twitter already, which most people have. So these three are the new ones. Me. These three are the new games that I did get. One also. The thing back here. You could probably see that from a distance what it was, maybe. So, yes. So, I did get some things. Yes, Twilight Princess HD for the Nintendo Switch. Yes. Yes, indeed. Very, very nice artwork. And inside it looks like this. Very, very nice. Very, very nice artwork. You know, I mean, you don't technically get the Master Sword yet in the game, although you get the thing that becomes the Master Sword pretty much. Here's Link's Awakening. Another thing is both Skyward Sword and Link's Awakening I had never played before. I thought about getting Skyward Sword back on the Wii, but I had problems with the motion controls because of back in my old place, the bench where I had the sensor bar was like at a very, very high position. So instead of sitting like normally and play like this, you know, whatever this, I had to have it like up like this to sit with the controllers, because otherwise the sensor bar wouldn't catch, because if you had it too low, it wouldn't catch, you know. And this is what it looks like inside. Very, very nice double page there. That's basically after he has like crashed or whatever. I know, reflections. The game's so small, though. The game's so small. It's basically like an SD card in size. Yeah. The graphics in this are actually very, very, very interesting, because the graphical style is very like, I don't think you would call it chibi exactly, because it looks a bit different. And then of course we have the thing I got on Friday, Metroid, of course. I kind of want to get the collector's edition, but it was too late out for it. Well, basically there was one place that had it still in stock, but then, you know, the stock changed. I like how inside though that you got like a 3D, I don't know if that is from a scene game, but that seems like a polygonal render of Samus, which is very, very nice. Very, very nice indeed. So, yes. And then I got these as well during the day when I got the Zelda games. So this is the Skyward Sword HD, this is the Joy-Cons and stuff like that. So, yes. Put the games back. So I got now, that's 4 physical games for the Switch. So I have 4 physical games, and I have Smash Brothers Ultimate Cadence of Hyrule, and Pokemon Shield as my not like physical games. So 3 non-physical games pretty much. So this is what it looks like when I have it in the thing here. So it looks very, very nice. I kind of wish that this whole thing that you can put it in, that I wish that they would sell these as a cheap, like in different colors and stuff like that to match, you know, stuff that is definitely want to have, because yeah, it's really, really good. And then of course I can put them on the console when I'm like, you know, when it needs to charge, but the charge on the controller lasts a pretty long time, you know. So yeah, that's pretty nice. You know, I've taken quite a few screenshots in Metroid Dread. Dread is, you know, pretty interesting, although there are certain sequence breaks you are allowed, but then there are certain ones you are not. Like, I have at this point, like at certain points I go back, like before advancing sometimes, just to try and find more secrets, because there are certain secrets that you can go back to at certain points, you know, but then, you know, trying to find an efficient way to go through, like remembering, okay, like what teleporter leads where, you know, because I kind of wish that you could directly, like when you select a teleporter, or if you select a teleporter on map, that you could see, okay, where does this teleporter specifically go to, you know, and stuff like that, because yeah, because remembering it not always easy, you know, and stuff like that, because yeah. But there are so many ways to go around. Like there are the teleporters, there are the trams, and there are elevators, which is really cool. There's a lot of cool areas in the game, and the bosses are pretty cool. Although the thing is that the bosses in this are hard. Well, actually, the thing is you need to learn how to dodge basically pretty much everything. And on bosses you need to learn, okay, what of these boss attacks are like refills. Not every boss has refills though, but a lot of bosses do have refill opportunities and stuff like that, which is very important. Now the K-boss was an annoying asshole, because you don't have, I think you have only 2 or 3 tanks maybe on trade. I'm pretty certain you can't have more than that at that point. But the annoying thing with trade, for example, like I took a few tries for me to realize that I could just go into mobile form, because basically the back button, which is the ZL, I believe, because you have the left button, the right button, and you have ZL and ZR. So the ZL button, if you click that when you have the morph ball, you immediately go into morph ball form. Like immediately, you don't like this, like no delay. So you can do that when he's gonna shoot out the thing. If these things hit you, by the way, boom, the hands that he shoots out from his belly, those things do 45 energy worth of damage. So yeah, but yeah, there's a silly underwater boss also that was really annoying, because I didn't realize you could leap over the tentacles on the boss, and the tentacles literally hit you for like over an E-tank's worth of damage. You need like 1 E-tank and I think 60 or 70 life to survive a hit. If you have like an E-tank and 40 life, you're not surviving the hit from a tentacle slap, which is, I mean, that's quite ridiculous. I don't know though if the thing is in the game how it was in Super Metroid and most other Metroid games. Like when you're in Morph Ball, you're always meant to take like less damage if you like morph like the instant you get hit, you know, whatever, or you like, as long as you're in Morph form, you should take like less damage and stuff there, because, you know, if you know like, oh shit, I'm not gonna be able to avoid this, you know, you're gonna take the damage, then, you know, like, I don't know if they have paid attention to that, because yeah, that, you know, was this thing. It feels a bit weird, you know, you get a warrior suit and then it feels like, yeah, this warrior suit helps, but you're still taking shit ton of damage from a lot of bosses and stuff that. Now it is very interesting how late it seems to be that you get gravity suit. Well, I'm guessing the only thing really I need to get to it, because I'm pretty certain of where it is most likely going to be underwater, because when you're in that zone, he tells you about, oh, you should try and find the grapple beam, space jump, and the gravity suit. So I'm guessing the space jump is somewhere in that zone as well, but I'm guessing the gravity suit is like far at the bottom. But there are like, at one point I went back there and I was able to pull down the platform, but I cannot like go up on the platform even with bomb jumping. There are actually certain sequence breaks that I've done with bomb jumping, Because if you get good at bomb jumping, you can jump very, very high with the bomb jumping. If you get good at it, you can basically, like, if something is like way too out of reach, like, you can use bomb jump up to it, no matter what, pretty much. And there are a few other areas where I'm interested in doing it, which are like massive open rooms, where there might be like, hidden things, so yeah. It's pretty good, like the bomb jumping is very, very good. Like if you get the timing down right on it, like I had a very, very specific timing that I managed to get into, and then if I just kept that timing, I could just, you can basically infinite bomb jump with that timing basically. And it feels like it's a fairly easy timing because I used to be good at the Super Metroid bomb jumping, but like not the super fast bomb jumping that you can do. Like there are different tempos of bomb jumping. There's like a safer version you can do, which is but yeah, it's very, very good. So yeah. Now of course a big power spike is when you get like the plasma beam and you get like super missiles. The super missile helps a lot against just the regular enemies. Same thing with plasma beam. Like Felicia Plasma does like one shot a lot of enemies and stuff like that, but yeah, it doesn't seem like plasma beam will be the final beam though. Definitely not, because I still have not gotten wave beam, and I'm pretty certain that wave beam is in the game. You do get a wide beam, which is what Spacer is renamed into, and don't really like it that much. Like Spacer is a pretty big deal as well, and stuff like that. So yeah, and you can like mock screw attack in this. Well, I'm pretty certain I've seen a screw attack block already, so yeah. Now the Emmys do actually give you quite a lot of abilities, but then there are certain abilities you also find in the on the planet itself, which aren't from the Emmys. There are 3 Emmys left, pretty much, for me to kill. And there's an Emmy that has currently gotten activated in there, and it's the blue one. And I'm guessing the blue one will have a freeze effect, because color coding. Like how the green one, I believe it was the green one that is the fast one that chases you. That one was annoying, I said to that, because sometimes it would randomly pop a boost and then you wouldn't have a chance to beam off its shield. So there was a certain specific point you had to return to several times and hit it and hope that it would go into a point of where it wouldn't like boost the box at you super quick. Because like green is like the mark of the speed booster in the older games, stuff like that. So yeah. So it's pretty interesting, because they do have some pretty interesting abilities. Now I really like, of course, about the cloak is very nice, and the very, very special like dash that you get. Because that dash, you can do it in the air, you can do it on the ground, and you can dash forward like up to I think 3 times total. But the 2 dashes are pretty much free if you time it correctly. But yeah, they're very good. Now the speed boost is very interesting because you can actually keep your speed boost, so when you're doing the speed booster thing, you can actually jump and then hit the other button at the same time. So you press, I believe it's like you press B and A at the same time or something like that. I don't know if it's exactly the same time or if it's one after the other. But if you press it correctly, you can like keep your like shine spark or whatever, and you can crunch down, store a shine spark, and then you can continue on running or whatever, And there's one place that I've managed to go back to in the first area where you use the grappling beam, and then there was an energy tank I couldn't reach to because they were like bomb blocks, and then there was too short of a distance to get up to the speed boost because there was in the ceiling there were speed boost blocks, and then there was like an energy tank, and then there was basically like a section where you could charge up the speed. But the main problem was that there was one of those things that you have to like dash through, like one of those things where you have to use the special dash, and that special dash seems to cancel the speed booster thing because you cannot use speed boost over, And I thought like, but those bomb blocks, I don't know if the bomb blocks are breakable by speed boost as well, if that was a thing. I have forgotten if it is or not, because there are certain blocks that speed boosters can break in Super Metroid that aren't like there aren't speed boost blocks, and I forgot if it was bomb blocks or not, because if that is the case then you could use do speed booster, duck, and then you can basically go into morph ball, and you can do like a shine spark with the morph ball. You can basically do a boost ball, which is nice. So there's a lot of really, really interesting tricks. It's gonna be interesting to see what speedruns are gonna be in the game. Like I purposely not like watched any videos on Metroid Dread because I want to, you know, do everything blind myself, you know, and stuff that. So yeah. Yeah, I mean the game is pretty tricky with certain bosses, you know. It's definitely, you know, quite a challenge, so to speak. Definitely quite a challenge, yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to what the gravity suit is gonna be like. I mean, I've seen pictures of it before because I couldn't like avoid it, you know, stuff. But yeah, but there seems to also be, you know, ice missiles, of course, gonna be back because, of course, you're still weak to ice. Although when she had recovered her full suit, in like when she absorbed the SX, she got like ice beam back. I mean, that makes sense, right? Because she has her old suit back and that is compatible with the ice beam, you know. But when she's in this other suit now, somehow you need the ice missiles again. I'm guessing there might be diffusion missiles as well. Or I mean, technically there's a diffusion beam that exists. Well, it's kind of like a diffusion effect, but I'm guessing there's going to be a missile also, because I've seen these green doors, like not the plasma beam ones or the super missile ones, but there are ones that have several buttons to them, and then there are green things that you need to hit, like with super missiles. I believe it is super missiles you hit them with, and you cannot hit them all at the same time. And they're timed basically, so you have to hit them all at the same time somehow. So it's probably going to be some sort of, you know, some sort of, maybe not diffusion. What's the thing called that was in Metroid Prime? It was in one of the Metroid Prime games, the whole thing when you lock on, what's it, like cluster missiles? No, I think what they called. Not cluster missiles, it was called something special. Like you basically lock onto several targets and then you just fire all missiles at once. Although that thing, if I remember correctly, that thing did consume a shit ton of missiles. Or I imagine, right, if you could like meet the boss, right, and you could like lock onto the boss, and maybe you would hold it down for quite a while, you know, and then you would have to like dodge stuff, you know, while you locked onto the boss, you know. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, were they already in Metroid Prime 1, that power up, or was it in Metroid Prime 2? Like Prime 2, by the way, is actually my favorite of the primes. That was mostly because of the motion controlling corruption, although the motion controlling corruption wasn't that bad, and corruption had some interesting boss fights, but yeah. But Metroid Prime 2 is just, the cool thing about Echoes is just that, like the whole Dark World concept, how that's like, it feels like very, very Zelda-esque, with how the Dark World is like really, really dark, and it feels like a threatening place that, like, yeah, you don't use your warrior suit, you don't go back to power suit. You have your warrior suit and you're taking like a lot of damage in the dark place, but then you get the dark suit. And I do think, yes, you get the dark suit a bit early because you use the dark suit for like the majority of the game. And then, oh, there's only one more suit you get. Oh, no, you get the light suit, but that's very, very far into the game. Like, it just feels bad when it's like, oh, you have this one suit. Like, it's good, like, if you have the first suit, quite a long time, then the second suit, quite a long time. And then the final suit is not like it's towards the end, you know, or something like that. But because you have the warrior suit, and yes, you do a few bosses with the warrior suit, but then you did get the dark suit very early on, and if you stuck, okay, but why did they make the dark world being such a threat with the dangerous atmosphere? Why did they make it such a big thing? Like, sure, you know, the atmosphere is still threatening even when you have the dark suit, because there are things that can still do a lot of damage to it, you know, and stuff like that, but still, it's just these. And then the light suit is pretty much like, oh, you have defeated all of the bosses. Oh, now, before you go into this final place, here, blah, 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 light suit, or whatever it was. I think that's how it was, basically. Before going to the final area, like, oh, okay, here you go with the light suit. I mean, it's good if you have a shit ton of more things to collect or whatever, you know, then it's nice. because the light just basically makes it so that you don't take damage at all in the dark areas, if I remember correctly. And I think you also recharge health faster at the light points or whatever, but yeah. So that was pretty interesting, but yeah. I would definitely go for like more 2D Metroid games. Although I would like ones that are more like in 2D instead of like Metroid Fusion or like Super Metroid in terms of like graphics. The interesting thing is Metroid Fusion, I believe, is based on one of the Wario Land engines, if I'm not completely mistaken, so that is very, very interesting, so yeah. Although, to be honest, one thing that would be interesting that could maybe work could be like a cel-shaded style for a Metroid 2D game. Because you can make cel shading look really good, especially if it's HD-fied. You know, you can do a lot of really, really cool things with that. Although it would be cool if they could do something like a Metroid like done in a like Studio Ghibli like style, you know, with like hand-drawn like stuff like that, like imagine like hand-drawn like Samus and stuff that like yes, it would take a long time to make such a game, but it could look like a really, really cool, you know, art and stuff that, you know. Like that's the thing, like something I always liked. Which it's a bit silly, it was an extremely late PlayStation game on the first PlayStation. There was, you know, the Tomb Raider games like the Tomb Raider 1, Tomb Raider 2, Tomb Raider 2, what was it? Not Last Escape. Tomb Raider 3 had an undertitle to it. And then Tomb Raider 4, of course, Last Revelations. And then, of course, there was a fifth one, which not a lot of people got, apparently, which was Tomb Raider Chronicles. And Chronicles basically told like different stories throughout her life and stuff like that. And I thought about like, wouldn't it be cool with like the whole thing with the whole, you know, Studio Ghibli style, like animation of how they're hand-drawn. Imagine basically a Metroid game like Metroid Chronicles, and then it could tell certain different like unknown like bounties that she has hunted, like not the Metroid games that are already out, but there could be different like storytelling, like you would go into different parts and you can select like chapter 1, you know, and stuff like that, and then chapter 1 is a whole place to like several places to explore, power-ups and different stuff to get, and then it's done in like the handwriting style, but it has a certain artist or certain artist to it. And then the next one is like chapter 2 takes place somewhere else in the timeline, somewhere else about something else. And then there are different power-ups you find. Like sure, certain power-ups are going to be the same like warrior suit, gravity suit and stuff like that, but there could be other things like stuff like that. And then there's a different art team, you know, that could do that, you know. And then they could all have the different take of what they make Samus look like, you know, stuff like that. And then they could do a lot of like really, really cool stuff that they're like tell like different stories, because, you know, I think it's a bit silly with the whole thing of how, Metro Zero Mission, it's called, like, Zero Mission, like the first Metro game, it's the first, like, mission she does, like I always thought that feels like bullshit, like, okay, why would they give someone who is completely new to bounty hunting, why would they give that mission, you know, and stuff like that. I definitely think that she has been a bounty hunter longer than that, and she has done more missions before, but it's the first probably big mission, or maybe official mission, so to speak, like, because it would be cool to like see like earlier bounty hunting before like the first Metroid game, you know. I definitely think that she must have done bounty hunting before, like, you cannot just go and be like, oh, this is your very, very first mission, do this thing where you have to fight this entire planet. Because that just does make a lot of sense, you know. Because the only way she could have gotten that is if she was, you know, famous and stuff like that. So yeah, that's very, very, you know, it sounds a bit silly, you know, right? You know, but I mean, there's a lot of interesting things, you know, they can make. The interesting things was in each of the Prime games there were like references to quote-unquote Metroid Dread, because it was supposed to be a Nintendo DS game, but the what do you call it, the tech wasn't there for making it like the way they wanted to, which is why Metroid Dread was delayed so much. It wasn't delayed that they were like, we have started working on it and done coding, whatever. It's not like the same, like obviously they have like to restart, you know, and do our engine, because it's not the same engine as a DS game, you know, and stuff that, which is pretty obvious, but yeah. So that is pretty interesting. So, I mean, I would love like Samus, or Chronicles of Samus Aran or something like that, or Metroid Chronicles of Samus Aran or something like that, you know, because there could be a lot of like really cool stuff that they could do with that as a concept, like having different like art teams and then go to different places, because then you could have different power-ups in the different places. Then they could try out a bunch of power-ups that they maybe have not thought about before, like, oh, maybe fans wouldn't like this power-up because it's too far from the formula. But then if you have a game that already have like one mission maybe you just have most of the classic power-ups, and then one mission goes completely wild and like throw in like very old power-ups, and then they could see like how are people reacting to these new power-ups, you know, and stuff there, because I still think there's a lot of like design space, like a lot of interesting things you could do in Metroid with the power-ups and stuff like that, and with the beams and with the suits, you know. Because that's the thing, like I always thought how it's always very cool when they introduce like a new suit, like in Metroid Prime, you know, like yes, you had you went back to the power suit, you had a barrier suit, you had a gravity suit, but then you had a phasing suit, and a phasing suit, or the dark phasing suit, or whatever they call it. It was really cool, you know, and stuff that, and it was like very heavy damage reduction on it, you know. It felt like really good when you got that, you know, because yes, you got it pretty late into the game, but at that point you still had a lot of exploration to do. Of course, you most likely have already found a bunch of the whole keys that you need already at that point, even if you're playing it for the first time, like, because that, well, like one of the thing in Memo Caverns is you so obvious, like, oh, you're just gonna miss at least piece of rock over here, you know, and stuff that, like a lot of them are very easy to find, you know. There's also keys, you know, and stuff, but yeah. So I mean, there's could be a lot of interesting things they could do. Now it is pretty interesting that Kraid is in this, you know. Now it might just be that this is not Kraid, and maybe this is a X-infested Kraid or something like that. Or maybe Kraid was a creation by the Chozo, maybe, or something like that. And maybe, you know, because Kraid was in you know, in Super Metroid, and you know the Sebes was supposed to be a Chozo planet before, so yeah. It's pretty interesting. Now one thing that's interesting in the game, spoilers by the way, spoilers, don't, or if you intend on getting the game, or if you care about the story, you know, don't continue on watching, you know, until I say so. But yeah, so Samus meets a Chozo later on, and it's part of the mission objective as well. She meets some robe, he's called Silent Robe or something like that, and he's an actual friendly Chozo. And this Chozo dies, he gets killed by one of those Chozo warrior things that serve the evil guy. But the thing is that this guy, he deactivates all the MS for you, so you can like continue on, you know, and stuff that. But also when you're speaking to him, he's speaking to you in Chozo. There's English text though, but he's speaking to you in Chozo, and then Samus actually answers in Chozo. So it's, I think that's the first time it's confirmed that Samus actually speaks Chozo. But is it called Chozo, or is it called, because I mean in Metroid, I think it's Zero Mission, there's a place called Chozo-Dia or something like that. Like, is it called Chozoian, or is it called like Chozo, use the language, or you know, whatever, you know, but yeah. But it's pretty interesting actually seeing her speak Chozo in this, you know. So she actually does have a voice in Metroid Dread, but yeah. Whoever the voice actor is, though, that's a pretty good job. And I think that that's one way to make it so that her voice can actually work, because then it becomes interesting. Like, don't have her talk like English, like having her talk like Chozo is actually really cool, you know, because that makes it so that then it's more, you know, then it sounds more interesting, you know. I mean, I definitely would have added her having a voice to the intro sequence, or maybe with the patch or something like that. Like, please do a voiceover for the intro sequence. Yes, I understand, like, a lot of people are listening to how good the team of Samus Aran is, because that's the intro music in Super Metroid as well. The whole, you know, when she's talking like oh, I first battled the Metroids at blah 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 blah. I first battled the Metroids at a bakery. I was trying to get a nice cake, but I couldn't get the cake. Mother Brain laughed at me. I punched her in the face. I punched her in the brain. Or that horrible Mother Brain that was in that Captain N, like the Game Master or whatever. That thing was so incredibly silly. Like Mother Brain had lipstick or whatever it was, you know, and then the voice was just hilarious. Also hilarious. Hilarior, pretty much, so yeah. I'm actually pretty excited. Like next year there's actually going to be next year there's going to be a Amiga 500 Mini, and it seems like it's gonna have an actual disk drive on the side, like not this, because there was a disk drive that you can get that was separate for the Amiga 500 where you could put the disk in, or there was also where there was the disk on the side. And apparently it says this is using some sort of system. Let me check here again. It's using. It's because basically it says this here. Oh, that was weird to do while it was spinning in the screen. So A500 minutes by Retro Games. It says this. The A500 Mini is compatible with hundreds of classic Amiga games, and that was utilizing WHD load for simplicity. Games must be legally obtained purchased from the legal owners. And it definitely looks like there's going to be a disc drive, and I mean I have a lot of Amiga 500 games, so that looks interesting. There's 25 games with it. They've only revealed 12 of them so far. Some of them are really good though, but there's a lot of like great missing games. I mean, there are certain games that I have, of course, so if they include them, you know, that doesn't matter so much. But the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, aka Ninja Turtles, that thing is very good actually, because the Turtles game for the NES was inferior to the Amiga 500 version. That version looks more like a Super Nintendo version basically, because the Amiga 500 featured a 16/32-bit CPU. So there were like certain games that looked really nice, you know. Alright, they did a Commodore 64 also like full size and stuff like that as well. And that I think is the better version, you know. But that one I believe requires you to have like a, yeah, it's built-in games and all stuff like that, so yeah. Because certain of the mini consoles haven't been as good as certain other ones, you know, and stuff like that, but yeah. I'm pretty excited for the Amiga 500. Actually seeing the very first Worms game is pretty cool. Because it doesn't look that much better on the PC, you know, and stuff like that. And I kinda like the way they did the menus in that, you know, and stuff like that, but yeah. It is pretty interesting that the Battleships is gonna be on, you know, which is really good. Soul Ninja of the Nth Dimension is really good. Speedball 2 is good. Summer the Sorcerer is interesting. You know, Summer the Sorcerer doesn't really compete with, like, I prefer Discworld, the Discworld games, or Discworld 1, Discworld 2 specifically, over Summer the Sorcerer. But yeah. Cadaver, I think I played Cadaver, but I think that's the one that would be in a cave. It's kind of like an RPG. A bit Battleships is of course really good. Another World, I remember being revolutionary when it came out. I think it was on the SNES also. It's reminiscent of that flashback game, I believe it's called. But Another World was like in a similar style and stuff that was pretty good, you know, yeah. I'm really looking forward to that though. I actually like the whole old art style on the Worms basically, but yeah. You know. I don't know when they're gonna reveal more games, or if there have been more games revealed so far. So yeah. Ugh. There was a certain Amiga 500 game though. And I mean Amiga 500 is a type of Commodore, but yeah. There was a certain game, and I'm pretty certain it was one of the first FPS I played. There was on it, I think it was called something like Realms of the Haunting or something like that. Let me actually Google it here. Amiga 500 Realms of the Haunting. Yeah, Realms of the Haunting was a 1997 game. But I'm pretty certain there was some sort of Realms of the Haunting Whip Doom clone in the Amiga 500. What? Because like at Amiga 500 I just had like a lot of really cool games. I had that whole there was a certain racing game where you like chase HQ, I believe it was called, and I had a second game, I think, or maybe it was the first game that was pretty good. Then there was like a Lotus game that was really good as well, but I think it was Realms of the Haunting that was also on Amiga 500, I think. Or they say it's a PC game, but yeah. Or there was a game called Realms. There was, but yeah. Och det är som video game Speedball to Brutal Deluxe Cannon Fodder. Jag really hope they do Cannon Fodder International Karate. I had that. Rainbow Island. The Story Bubble. Yeah, Pinball Fantasies, Bubble. There's so many good games. It's not very score. Yeah, the Batman game was really good, but it was brutally hard. Turrican 2, Turrican 1, Flashback was on it. Oh, Alien Breed is gonna be on it. Because I saw that on the box art. Wings I had. Batman of course. Megalomania, that was the puzzle game. Right. Oh no, it was a strategy game. I mean, there were so many really cool games here. There was Bomberman game also. Thunderhawk. Oh, they don't have Swiv. What was it called, Swiv? Amiga 500. What's it called, Swiv? With a W, I don't know. Oh yeah, Swiv with that. Yeah, Swiv. With a tank and a Swiv. Oh, and then it says in Swedish there. Amiga OS. SI Games, Kicks, Chrysalis Software, Skyward, Enix Europe. Oh, they made a Game Boy Color version of it, but yeah. So it's a 2D vertical scrolling shoot-'em-up game, originally released in 1991 for the Commodore, Amiga, Atari ST, Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPS. The game was considered a spiritual successor to Tecmo arcade game Silkworm. Swiv was, yeah, I remember the Super NES sequel, like the Super Swiv and stuff like that. There was a pretty bad game. There were like cheats also in it that you could use. It was really fucking cool, and then like the final boss like was inside of a volcano or whatever, but yeah, it was like really cool, you know, and stuff like that, but yeah. Then there was also like a race car game that I had where you played as a like a car with like a face or whatever, you know, and then there were like enemies But you couldn't attack the enemies if I remember correctly, you know, when you had to drive left to right and like collect certain things, you know, there were like so much cool stuff on the Amiga 500. And then, you know, of course I still have Heimdall. Heimdall was one of the bigger games. Also a Genghis Khan game. Or the Genghis Khan game was super hard. I couldn't understand it when I was younger, so yeah. The Genghis Khan was actually a really cool like strategy game and whatever like that, but it looked like more like a board game, you know, and stuff like that, so yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, but the Amiga 500 had very like Super NES graphics, like obviously not as good I would say, because, you know, but yeah. Still like so many like there we go. Yeah, pictures of the turtle game. And I'm finding that place was hard, and I believe the way that you were supposed to find that place, the underground place where they hid the Technodrome in it, basically there was like a certain copyright thing, protection or whatever, there was a certain pirate protection thing, which in the manual there is like a very super dark red piece of paper, and then the text is in dark red or black or whatever. And then you basically look at this page, at this thing, and then you had a limited amount of time to put in the code, and then you had to find it on the correct page on the certain line, and then you had to put in a specific code, and it was just like, okay, but make the text easy to read, like why? Like I can understand, yeah, like make it like, you know, and they had to do with that paper in order to make it like harder to copy or whatever, but it still was just fucking stupid, you know, and stuff that. Although there's probably sites out there where you can see what the codes are without having to like look into the manual or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there was so much cool stuff. They're showing pictures of yeah, that's the interesting thing, really. I mean, A Link to the Past was a pretty simple game. I wonder if it could be possible to code it like, or like make a parody of A Link to the Past, like code it for like the Amiga 500, because I think graphically it should be capable of doing like A Link to the Past. Although I mean, yes, they are on discs, but if I remember correctly, A Link to the Past wasn't that big in file size, and there have been games that have been like megabytes that are like on the thing, you know. So yeah. And I mean, so the Turtles game is based on a NES game, you know, so yeah. But it would be interesting. I'm gonna actually search for yeah, the fastest Amiga was the AC 68080. With more than 4 times the performance of previous fastest, the Motorola's 68060. It was capable of 192.12 MIPS and 102.06 megaflops, while the Cyberstorm 68000 60 at 50 MHz was only capable of 39.29 MIPS and 28.2 megaflops. Wow. So the US price and the pound price there they show. In dollars it would have been $699, and that in 2020 standard would be $1,592, so yeah. The inventor of the Amiga 1000 was J. Miner, who created the Atari 800 many years before. He wanted to make the most powerful computer ever, then he joined a small Californian company called Amiga. He used the principle of the 3 co-processors again to help the main processor. Okay. Yeah, I think it would actually be possible considering like how powerful the Amiga 500 can be and stuff like that. So. I mean, it would be cool, just interesting to see like if people just made like a, you know, like a ROM hack of the Zelda game, you know, like make a ROM hack of it and like try to see if it can work on like an Amiga 500 or something like that. Obviously, the sound would have to be different because the sound chip is different, but it would be cool to see if it that could theoretically be possible, you know, and stuff that, like, yeah. Of course, they would probably just change the name of it to call it something else, you know, but stuff like that, but yeah. I mean, I definitely think it could work, because if I remember correctly, the file size of A Link to the Past isn't very big, and because of the way it handles its memory, that's why you can make the whole combo randomizer with, A Link to the Past and, like, Super Metroid work, and stuff like that. Where you like playing both games, you know, stuff like that, so yeah. So what else? So Final Fantasy wise, there's no date for Final Fantasy 5 yet. There used to be a date of 30th of September, but it's probably gonna take until maybe late October. Like, hopefully we're gonna hear something, because yeah. And apparently Final Fantasy 4 had issues. I don't know really what issues they were. I don't know if it's meant to be, because I looked back on something and I don't remember if it was in the region NES game or if it was on one of the Game Boy Advance games, but apparently you are supposed to be able to switch characters into like some of the guest characters and like others to level them up as well. That's supposed to be possible, but maybe it's only in the Game Boy Advance version, you know, because you are supposed to be able to go back to the town where all the characters are there. And I've gone there before, but supposedly if you talk to them there, you're supposed to be able to change party members, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So that's interesting. But yeah. I mean, I'm interested in apparently the endings in Metroid Dread. I know at least that there is supposed to be, because that was leaked before when they showed up the game like earlier. There were like screenshots from older Metroids, and you can see them as part of certain cutscenes in the game. You can see certain pictures, and some of them are from different Metroid games. And apparently you get different ending screens depending on how quick you beat the game and how many percentage you have. So yeah. And I'm guessing they're gonna go through all the Metroid games. Like Metroid, there's Super Metroid, there's Metroid Fusion, you know, and stuff like that. So the question is, all they're gonna be like a clothed version background, or is they're gonna be like, you know, like it's gonna be really interesting to see, you know. and it's 100% gonna be the max percentage, you know, whatever, you know. The interesting thing though is how there is like a new game option when you're playing the game instead of continuing on. Like, I don't know if that's supposed to be some sort of like a new game plus thing that you get to keep something. I don't know really. I know that there is supposed to be a hard mode that you can unlock. Although that would probably be insanely hard. Like considering already how much damage you take, but I mean like, I don't know if they could make like a new game plus work. I mean that would be really cool if you would then like start with certain power-ups already or whatever, you know. Or maybe the story would go completely different. Maybe you wouldn't lose your powers, you know. Whatever. Because it looks like in that fight that happens very, very early on in the game, which, you know, is a cutscene, it looks like she's actually using plasma beam in that already. So technically she has the plasma beam from the start. And that warrior suit looks slightly different. So yeah, I mean, it would be cool, you know, to have that as, you know. Now, I don't know if they're gonna make like a, on Smash Bros, if they're gonna make like a new costume or a new color option for Samus. I mean, it would be cool if they made like a Metroid like color option or whatever, you know, that would be cool, you know. Because yes, I mean, yes, they've done all the characters, but could they still have like more colors or stages or music or something like that, maybe? Because I don't think the Doom guy received any sort of music with it, you know, which would have been cool, you know, and stuff there, but yeah. Or who knows, you know, who's gonna who's gonna continue the series of this Sakurai, you know. It's gonna be interesting to see. There's actually been a very, very interesting thing that I was on YouTube rather recently. They did actually show what's it called? They did show actually someone has done like a remake. I don't know how far into development it is, but it was showed a very, very cool short sort of like teaser for it, for like a Resident Evil 3 remake, but like a fan-made one in like the Unreal Engine, and it actually looks pretty good. I mean, if I remember correctly, the Resident Evil engine is kind of similar a bit to the Unreal Engine in a bit of ways. I don't know if they used the Unreal Engine as a base or something like that, but yeah. The RE engine, yeah, the RE engine is really, really good. I mean, the RE engine, they did use that for Resident Evil 7. They've used that for Devil May Cry game. They used it for Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake. They're also using it for Resident Evil 8, so it is a very, very powerful engine, you know. It's really, really, really good, you know. It's really, really good. Here there is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis fan remake teaser. Hashtag Cheetah31 game Unreal Engine. So yeah, it's very, very short. It's only 28 seconds, but it looks really good. And the cool thing, it's the Unreal 5 engine as well, so that's very, very good. You see basically you go through that very, very classical short little hallway there after, I think that's the hallway that's exactly after you leave the warehouse, and then basically through the very, very same section after she has gone through it, you see Nemesis go through it, and they have gotten the Nemesis stars done pretty well. Oops, this is gonna be way too loud. Damn. I was just checking it again here. Yeah. So if you search for Resident Evil 3 Nemesis fan remake teaser, and then the hashtag Cheetah31 gamer, you can find it. Yeah, it actually looks really, really good. That's apparently a Spanish user that is making it, so yeah. Canal de Creador. I don't think the residents of Evil have reacted to this one yet, though. But yeah. And I mean, like, that's the thing, like just that it just feels like Resident Evil 3, the remake just got rushed, and it wasn't done by the same as the RE2 remake, and it just feels like so bad, like, oh, like how Capcom were like, oh, we're just done with the game, lol, 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 lol. And then like no DLC, like no mercenaries, no nothing, you know, and stuff that. And then it's just like, and they're using the whole excuse like, oh, we didn't think you would enjoy playing with Jill. And maybe it's just because her voice actor is, I don't know if it's the voice actor that's why she's the way she is, but it doesn't feel like the old RE3 Jill. And a lot of people are using, oh, you're just mad that she's swearing, but the thing is just that, yeah, she swore in like Resident Evil 3, but she acted a certain way in that. And in the Resident Evil 3 remake, it feels more like, I'm a woman, hear me roar. It's kind of what it feels like. That it is, and that's just, it's not particularly good because it feels more like a political activism game. Stuff that I know people love that, you know, and they love to be like, oh yeah, Last of Us 2 is the greatest game ever made. There's no flaws in the game, and the story makes total sense because the main person was a dickhead and he deserved to die early on. And it's like, you know, about the first game, if you play through it properly, there was a hidden file that you can find, or that file only shows up if you've gotten all the other files. And then you see that, oh, they have failed multiple times. They found multiple people who supposedly were immune to the disease in Last of Us 1. And it has failed over and over again. And they've killed like several people to just, you know, make it work in the Last of Us 1, you know. So that operation on Ellie was not going to work because they've had many that had been immune and it had failed. You know, so yeah. But still, you know. Yes, you know, it's not that Joel is a nice guy in that game, you know, but still, you know. It just feels ridiculous, and maybe it was just, I don't know if Resident Evil 3 became bad because of like influencers like, Ray, Jill belongs to me, you know, which is what they often like tend to do, you know, or how like certain games doesn't really get called out, like Final Fantasy 7 Remake, like the new Tifa design is not more realistic. That's just something that the left extremists have started using, like this whole thing with, oh, this looks more realistic, and then they're using that whole excuse realistic to basically make nothing look sexual or look nice even. And then it's like, oh, but that's how people look like. No, it's not. That's not how people look like. Maybe that's how left extremists want to look like, with the weird ass colored hair, and then they're like mentally insane, like majority of them, you know, and stuff that. That's just the way it is. And then like with the other two Resurrected, with how to make the characters look in that. Now there are certain characters that I don't mind kind of the way they look, but it's still like, why? Oh, it's cool how they aged with us, the players. Yeah, they're not meant to age. Oh, now they look like badass, experienced characters. No, they don't. The Amazon has completed the wrong pole. The way she's running around with the spear, she doesn't look like heroic or like a strong, quote-unquote, woman, you know. And then it's just like, oh, but people just hate girls or females or whatever, you know. And then it's like, when people say that, oh, men didn't like this movie, so men must hate females. And then it's like, yeah, Wonder Woman was a good movie, you know. The first Wonder Woman movie was good, you know. And I was a strong woman in that, but yeah. They're always doing that, you know, but yeah. The Nintendo 64 controller, by the way, the Nintendo's gonna release, actually looks pretty good. Now the question is, because the thing is, yes, there are like other companies that make N64 controllers, but the thing is, when it's Nintendo themselves, yes, they're making it expensive, but the question is, what if all the new old controllers that they're releasing, what if they have like the HD Rumble in the Switch controllers or in the Joy-Cons? I don't think the Pro controller had the HD Rumble in it, but yeah. But the thing is, like, oh, imagine if the N64 controller had like the HD Rumble in it or whatever, but yeah. I mean, there's not going to be that many N64 games, but yeah. Although what I wish that they would use to release on the Switch would be some sort of accessory or something you would put on your Switch or maybe below the Switch somehow. And I don't know how you would install it, but it would be like a dock for the dock. And you would put it in, and then there would be a reader, and you would put in your 3DS games or whatever, you know. And then it used to be like the Super Game Boy kind of was, like for like you got it for the Super Nintendo, and then you could play Game Boy games in color. So yeah, I mean, it's just that I want a lot of 3DS games because I would definitely want the Ocarina of Time on the 3DS and the Majora's Mask because they look better than the original Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, you know, and stuff that. I thought I heard music. Maybe it's from downstairs, just not having very loud volume, but yeah. Should I do it? Maybe. I thought it was something else. I was gonna take up with, let me think. Was something okay. Yeah, I had to. I have to show this before because I remember. So this is my favorite coffee. This is my favorite coffee beans, or basically. So we have a coffee machine downstairs, like a proper coffee machine, not the regular one that you just make coffee in, but. And I can make like espresso with it, and I can make a regular coffee, and I can make it in 3 different strength levels. And then basically I have like, I can take 1 cup of that, and I can take like 1 cup of espresso, and then I put the creamer in that I have. I have a very, very special creamer, an oat creamer, which is really, really well made. That is made with like professional baristas have assisted making that. And this is my absolute favorite coffee. Lavazza crema e aroma. And then it's 8 out of 10 intensity. Ideal for caffè crema, caffè latte, and cappuccino, and latte macchiato. And there's 1 kilogram of this, but Lavazza is pretty expensive, but yeah, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. And the thing is, if you only take one cup of this and take the rest of it as a, you have like a smell thing here inside the packaging. There's like a white dot thing. So yeah. Again, it's like a really, really old coffee. It's what it is. It's a really, really old coffee, and it's just absolutely fantastic. It's just so good. It's just so good. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm a big fan of it. It's just extremely, extremely good. And the thing is though that it is very, very expensive. So once I'm out of it, I'm gonna see if I can get it again. Because I mean, 1 kilogram, it takes a long time to drink up 1 kilogram of that. You know, it takes a lot of time. You know, but yeah. I mean, I also have like I have like a thing in the fridge where I basically pour the coffee into once it goes cold, like the coffee that we make in the regular coffee machine, and like not the expensive coffee machine that I make that special coffee in, but the regular coffee that we have there, regular Zoegas, and sometimes we have Arvid Nordqvist coffee as well, and yeah, and because basically I have like in a cooler, or I have it in like a my mind thought thing. Yeah, I have it in you know, the thing. You know, no, but you have it in the thing. Yeah. And then the coffee is basically like the coffee gets cold and stuff that, and then the thing is like, because that whole thing with when the coffee is cold, that brings out the special flavor, and then you can have like sugar cubes in it, you know, and then you have the creamer and stuff that, and if you get the balance right, it gets very, very good. The main problem is, of course, that certain sugar cubes can have a hard time getting loose. Not regular white sugar cubes, those are usually goes down just from being in liquid, but then we have some other sugar cubes that are like that is the raw soccer thing. which is basically the cane sugar thing. And like the cane sugar tastes very, very different. And that the cane sugar basically is the main problem with the cane sugar is it has a very, very hard time to dissolve in used the liquid, especially if it's cold. It kind of needs the warm liquid in order to melt the thing. But yeah, but especially like when you drink the coffee really cold, or if you put ice cubes in it, it becomes a very, very certain taste, you know, because there's special like cold brew drinks. And like that Monster coffee drink is kind of like a cold brew, so yeah. And then there's something that I've seen someone made a commercial for, which is, I think it's called Madrinas coffee. I don't know if you can order it here in Sweden though. US dollar Canadian, or you can have euros here. Cold brew cans. So wait, today the brand Madrinas coffee. Yeah, but that's not Mr. Lam, damn it. Madrinas coffee frequently asks questions like the leadership all over the world. Cold brew refers to the way that our coffee is brewed. Rather than mixing with hot water, cold brew is brewed cold and never heated. It also goes through a slow drip process that for 12 hours. This also allows the coffee to be less acidic, easier on the stomach, and more caffeinated. Oh yeah, if you are streaming, you can have it. International shipping details, yes, we do. International orders are shipped via DHL and can take 2 to 10 weeks for fun. Certain countries also wait too long. Oh man, you can order Madrinas. Cold brew black, cafe mocha, cafe vanilla, cafe caramel, sweet starter pack. Oh man, you can get cold brew Madrinas. Damn it. But how does the coffee powder work? That they have like whole bean coffee. But are there like coffee machines that you cold brew coffee? Or cold brew coffee maker, KitchenAid, cold brew coffee maker. There is cold brew coffee makers. Let me add Sweden here so I can see stuff that exists here in Sweden. Ah, there we have one. Yeah, they do look different. Brew small, delicious, low acidic coffee. Okay, there are cold brew coffee machines. I might have to get one of those because I mean the whole less acidic is very, very good if you have like a annoying stomach that I have, because you know I have the IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, you know, and it's very rare for guys to get it, and maybe it has been all the stress through my life or when I was younger or whatever, you know, that made it really, really bad because my stomach was just so yeah. Damn, so there are cold brew coffee machines. I mean, because that seems like such an advantage, making it so that like it's less acidic, it's more like caffeinated, so that seems really good, you know. And I like it when it's cold like that, like it tastes like very, very different and stuff that, and then it's just like you drink it cool. it's like refreshing, you know, and it, you know, yes, I do like my monsters, but still. I mean, the monster flavors that I like the most are like the fruit flavor ones, like the popper fruit flavor ones, with like sugar in them. Because yes, there are certain of the sugar-free things that I have that is pretty good, but in a lot of the monsters, the main problem is there is a lot of oils in them, you know, and it feels just like very, very weird, you know. So yeah. Anyway, that's gonna do it for the 9th of October 2021. Anyway, fuck Joe Biden, fuck what's it called? Jeff Bezos, yes, that's the Amazon guy, right? The guy that flew to the moon, or flew somewhere in space. I was like, my money now. My money now. My workers don't need to have pee breaks. My workers don't need to have pee breaks. Probably Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders. Yeah, because he's, you know, an necromancer. He's raising the dead. He's raising dead communist. Thanks. 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 Oh, that was funny. Well, that was funny. Totally not at all. Oh no, what?